With that being said, final game that we will dive into fully. This is your other Saturday game. You're going to have the Baltimore Ravens heading to Green Bay. The Green Bay Packers are 2.5-point favorites in this one. The over-under is 40.5. I do not have the money line for Baltimore, but Green Bay is minus 140. So I would assume probably minus 1 or plus 120, maybe plus 160, however they wanted to flip it there. This is interesting. I don't think we're going to know too much about Lamar Jackson at this stage, but that line makes me believe that Vegas expects Lamar to play, with all due respect to Snoop Huntley. Raider Jim, your thoughts, Baltimore at Green Bay.
Yeah, what a turnaround for the Ravens. And you hate to see it. They're so competitive. They're so good, but real head scratchers here. You almost sense a little bit of not so much frustration. It might be a combination of disappointment and frustration when they show Lamar Jackson on the sidelines or when they show a lot of the Ravens on the sidelines. The Packers, on the other hand, boy, they're their own worst enemy. You can't next time there's an onside kick, just, fall on the damn ball, would you? Especially when I've got the money line and the under, please. I'm not asking for much. I think Packers take care of business at Lambeau. The frozen tundra and all that good stuff. It's going to be 2 days after Christmas. They need the victory to try to get themselves a better seeding in the playoffs, get themselves into more mental playoff mode than they might be right now after that loss to the Chicago Bears. Who knows? May not be the last time they're going to have to face those Bears. So we'll see what happens. But I just have a feeling I'm looking at minus 2.5 for the Packers on what I'm looking at, and I will take minus 2.5 on that one. And then over under 40.5. There was a day I would have said it's going to be a shootout. I don't know if it's going to be a shootout now. I can see it being 24-13 and everybody goes home. So I'm going to go under 40.5 on this one.
Yeah, these are two teams that really struggle to finish. Baltimore mainly. Yeah. Baltimore has had, I mean, they've had obviously opening night. I believe it was opening night against Buffalo, up 40-25 with 6 minutes to go, and they lose that game. And then last week as well, it seems, honestly, maybe, I don't know if this is a crazy take, but I think it's time for John Harbaugh and the Baltimore Ravens to maybe you know what? I'm not even going to try it. Mutually part ways. And again, I don't think it's because John Harbaugh is a bad coach. I just think there's oil and water. It's just not working with Lamar. And I don't think both can come back next year. Again, they've been talking about Lamar being available. That's kind of been, seems like last year was the first offseason we didn't have those rumors about. I like Green Bay in this one. I think they have a lot more to play for. And with that being said, I think the Micah Parsons injury for the Packers, very, very tough to deal with. But I think the biggest injury they've had to deal with this year is the injury to Tucker Kraft. Once he went down, this offense, and don't get me wrong, it wasn't world beaters before, but when he was in on the field, he was at least somewhat of a deep ball threat. I don't know. I do have my concerns with Green Bay overall, especially in the playoffs as they try and keep Detroit out, but not really in this one. Again, I think these are two teams that they're good, but maybe end of game scenarios, not as, locked in as you want them to be. And overall, I just think Green Bay is a more talented team. Way too many question marks for Baltimore. Their defense is so Jekyll and Hyde. They have moments that look like they're, rounding back into form. And then they have other moments where it looks like they can't tackle anything. So you just don't know. So inconsistent. So give me Green Bay minus 2.5, mainly just because it's the home team. And I am going to go over 40.5 here. I don't know. It just seems like a little low, and maybe it's just the old Baltimore Green Bay brain in my head. These guys shoot out, blah blah blah. But I think that number is a little lower than I would like. So give me the over 40.5. And finally, as we wrap up this edition, we got 5 other games we're just going to kind of gloss over. The Arizona Cardinals, they are heading to Cincinnati to face the Bengals. The Bengals are going to be 7-point favorites. Your over-under there is 53.5. Pittsburgh, 4-point favorites as they head to Cleveland. And this over-under of 34.5. Goodness gracious, folks. Yeah, that'll be an interesting one. New Orleans at Tennessee, 2 teams that I think maybe have outperformed what people expected. We all expected these 2 teams to be the worst in the league, and I don't think they're the worst, so that's good. New Orleans, 2.5-point favorites on the road as they head to Tennessee. 39 is your over-under. Sorry about that. Last one of the pod, I promise. Tampa Bay, minus 5.5. Big one for them to keep their hopes alive. They head to Miami, in-state rivalry. 45.5 is your over-under. Tampa Bay, 5.5 is your spread. And then finally, the New England Patriots, 13.5-point favorites as they head to MetLife to face the Jets. 42.5 is your over-under. Raider Jim, any of those games jump out to you?
Yeah, actually, the Tampa Bay game, because they do have a lot to play for. They want to make it a very interesting Week 18. They've kind of stumbled the last few games, and they need to make up for it. And if you're going to have talk about the injustice of scheduling, Carolina has to go out and they're going to play the Seahawks.
Yeah.
And Tampa Bay is going to go down the street and they're going to play Miami. Yeah. I mean, my goodness, there's just sometimes life just isn't fair. But, good setup for Tampa Bay. They should be able to get back on track. I can see them blowing out Miami by a full touchdown, no problem. The Cleveland-Pittsburgh game, the over-under aside, when you look at how well Cleveland performed against Buffalo, why can't they perform like that against Pittsburgh? And they're going to be at home. So I'm not going to be surprised if Cleveland doesn't pull the upset of upsets. And then my other upset would be, and it's going to be in my best bets as well, Tennessee's going back-to-back with victories.
Oh, I like it.
Indeed.
Yeah, my thoughts now. First and foremost, obviously, Coach, not on the pod these days, but I kind of tongue in cheek been like, oh, it's going to be a tough year for him, and it has. It's not been great, at least for the Saints side of things. He's had a great year himself, but I don't know. I think there's something there with that Tyler Shuck kid. I think he's got something there, and I think there's something to work with. I really do like that game. That will also be in my best bets, but I am gonna. I'll get to that momentarily. Then the other side of it, obviously, I do want to talk about DK. Obviously, he will be suspended for this game and the following game. And obviously, I'm sure you've seen it, but DK, I don't think he made contact, but I don't think that was because he didn't try to, but he essentially took a swing at a Lions fan, or at least a fan in blue hair. So again, I don't know, all because, and this was on video, there might be more to the story, but DK had said there was a racial slur used and a certain C word towards his mother. The video doesn't seem to back that up. Again, it may have been earlier in the game. I don't know. Anyways, all we do know is DK did go grab him by the hair, or at least the wig, I assume, and punched him. And he now has 2-week vacation, unpaid vacation, about $500,000. And he also gave up over $40 million in guaranteed money going forward. So not ideal there. And I don't know, that's a tough one. And finally, the last one here, you kind of mentioned it, Tampa Bay heading to Miami. I just when you thought maybe there was something there with Miami, They've kind of come out and, let's say, pooped the bed the last few weeks, right as you looked around and you were like, oh, hey, there might be something there. No, there was nothing there. It was fool's gold. But that's an interesting one because they have every opportunity to ruin the Buccaneers season right there. Are they good enough to do it? Will it be Quinn Ewers, who wasn't terrible, but I also don't think he was great? Will it be Zach Wilson? Who knows? Will Mike McDaniel put the pads on and see what he can do? Who knows? That's the fun of the Dolphins these days. And I joke, there are different F words to describe the Dolphins. But it's going to be an interesting weekend. Obviously, Sunday won't be as jam-packed when you have 5 games before that, essentially 3 on Thursday, 2 on Saturday. But it is that time of year where we are going to be getting, not a full Saturday, or excuse me, a full Sunday slate. Raider Jim, I think you've already given us one, but do you have any more best bets for us?
Oh, I've got a few in here. I think Cincinnati, they're just trying to go out feeling as good about themselves as they can and let people know, hey, injuries aside, we'd have been in there, but we had injuries and not a real good defense. But Cincinnati -6.5 against Arizona. I think I like that bet. I like Tampa Bay covering the 5.5. Tennessee +3 at home. Again, back-to-back for Tennessee. Watch that. I do like the Niners -2.5, and I like the Bills -2.5.
Yeah, I have 5 here. I have a couple maybe upsets, if you want to call them that. I like Houston on the money line. I think they get the job done. As I go through it, let me just get that. Yeah, -105, pretty much a pick 'em against the Chargers. I think they get the job done. You heard how, I expect that game to go. I do like the under in the Rams and Falcons game. Actually, no, I think I have that backwards. I think I had that as over. Let me just make sure. Yeah, I'm sorry. Give me the over in that one. Because I remember I was talking about how much I love watching Bijan and and Puka Nacua. Anyway, so the over 49 in the Atlanta Los Angeles Rams game. Just like you, I'm going to buy 0.5 point. I like Cincinnati -6.5. Arizona is really bad. They're so bad. I think there are a lot of people that have just completely forgot about them, that they exist. They do. And even though I think Jonathan Gannon would wish that you didn't acknowledge their presence, because I think he's going to be fired, but Cincinnati -6.5. I also like the over 39 in the New Orleans Tennessee game. I wanted to get my hands dirty in that game so much, but I didn't want to go against Tyler Shuck. I don't like, the Saints as road favorites. So I just figure, you know what? Let's see some points being scored. Let Shuck and Ward toss it all over the field. Give me the over 39. And I like Cleveland on the money line. I think Cleveland beats Pittsburgh. I think they end Pittsburgh season, or I'm sorry, it wouldn't end Pittsburgh season, but at the very least make it a little more dramatic heading into the last week of the season. And I also do think Myles Garrett breaks the NFL sack record on Aaron Rodgers. And I want him to do it this week because if he does it next week, they'll always have, he did it in 17 games versus 16. Yeah. So I'm a huge fan of Myles Garrett, even though I have no sympathy for him anymore. Look, you signed that mega contract to stay with the Browns. You knew what you signed up for. Financially, it was the right decision. Professionally, Anyways, Cleveland money line, my final best bet.